sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
It takes a little while to process when you play games like that. That was not your run-of-the-mill effort or game, and no matter which way you want to talk about, there's a lot to talk about. And some of it was not so good. Some of it was exceptional. I think the general, emotion swings were, they were big, and there were several of them.
Another way to put it is the Twins are the first team to out-homer their opponent by 7 home runs in a game and lose in the 150-year history of baseball. We will talk about tomorrow's trade deadline, the latest on Berríos and Buxton. It is Reckless Speculation Thursday, boys and girls.
Reckless Speculation.
And that means we bring in our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the Scoop Podcast from 5 Eyewitness News. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, boys. Judd, Declan as well.
Where do we even start? This week has been so great. I think I know where we're going to start, but you could just this is fantastic. Enjoy this too, because again, this is going to be the only year in which we have the convergence of reckless speculation, almost like a shooting star, at our fingertips.
Across all sports. Let's start with Timberwolves, please, because Doogie off mic was telling us as we're sitting here, Ricky Rubio had dropped like 26 points in 3 quarters for the Spanish national team in the Olympics. So he's doing his best Kevin Durant impression with trade rumors swirling. But Doogs, there's a million things to get to. Let's start with, what do you know about the Timberwolves and their trade discussions leading up to the draft tonight and then the free agency period next week?
Good morning, gentlemen. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday. Let's continue the Rubio dialogue. He was brilliant. He's oftentimes brilliant when playing for the Spanish national team. He was brilliant today. Spain beat Argentina. He had 26 points. He's been solid, even going back to their exhibition games a couple weeks ago. Now in Tokyo, he looks to be in phenomenal shape. There's a lot to like about Ricky Rubio when he's in really good shape. Keep in mind, coming off a battle with COVID, the atypical nature of last year, heading into that abbreviated training camp, Rubio wasn't in shape. I don't think he ever was in max shape throughout the season, but he certainly was in better shape middle of the year compared to where he was like those first 20 to 30 games. But he looks really, really good right now. Expiring contract. So there is a lot of interest in Ricky Rubio, maybe more so because of the cap flexibility in expiring contract offers. I can tell you, now I'm sure there are more teams than this doing due diligence on Ricky, but I can tell you for a fact, the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, and Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics have done their homework on Ricky Rubio.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Reckless Speculation.
So with the NBA draft tonight, as we record this on Thursday, Dukes, and then free agency right around the corner, where are you hearing things will lead? Obviously, as of right now, the Wolves don't have a draft pick, but there is going to be a very juicy beginning. I guess they'll call it the start of the NBA league year. Where are we thinking things are going?
Well, I still think there's a better chance, Judd, that they execute some sort of trade versus signing a free agent like Doug McDermott or Phil, your guy, George Niang. That's one of your guys. Yeah, from Iowa State.
I did get him I got him on the random. It was supposed to be a Minnesota sports, get everyone on. How many people can you get on a Zoom? It was Joe Mauer, Lindsey Whalen, Ryan Saunders, all these, Matthew Hatchett, and then George Niang was just randomly shows up.
It was awesome. Brilliant. It was hilarious. So good, but he is attainable. I can't remember if he's restricted or unrestricted, but Utah is up against it. Utah is trying to do some different things. So anyway, I'm told Niang is a free agent on the Wolves' radar, but the issue the Wolves have is they're just a few million below the luxury tax line. Glenn Taylor is not going back into luxury tax territory. He was there a couple of years ago after the Russell trade. You don't go back into that unless you're a conference final type team. So Glenn Taylor's not approving them going into the luxury tax again. So unless they create cap space, that's where maybe a Jarrett Culver trade comes into play. If some team wants to take on Culver, the Wolves can get back a second-round pick. Yeah, maybe that creates a path to signing a free agent. But if that doesn't happen, then we're looking at a trade. I mean, I had a 30-minute conversation with Gerson Rosas, who runs the Wolves, on Monday. He doubled or tripled down on that idea. He's been talking about it for months. I actually will feel bad if he doesn't execute a reasonably sized trade, because I think the fan expectation at this point is Rosas and Glenn Taylor have talked for so long here since the season ended about, hey, the trade avenue is the path for us to really improve this roster. Like, it's now on Gerson to execute. Because I'll remind people, 98% of trades that are talked about actually never happen. But it's on Gerson to find a way to make a trade happen. Is that Lauri Markkanen, restricted free agent for the Chicago Bulls? He 100% is on the Wolves' radar. I don't see Atlanta moving John Collins. I'm told the guy that the Wolves had interest in last year, Larry Nance Jr. of Cleveland, I'm told the Wolves, at least as of now, as we sit here at 10:15 Central on Thursday morning, I'm told the Wolves have not engaged the Cavs in trade talks, but it looks like Cleveland tonight could land big man Evan Mobley from USC. So at that point, would they look at maybe shopping Nance? They have Jared Allen. You then have Mobley. You have Kevin Love. Maybe they end up trading Love, not Nance Jr. I know J.B. Bickerstaff, the former Gopher, the Cavs head coach, loves Nance Jr., but you have Derek Jones Jr. in Portland, another free agent the Wolves were in on last year. You have JaMychal Green opting out of his player option with the Denver Nuggets. The Wolves had interest in him last year. You know, could there be some sort of sign and trade? Endless possibilities. Kyle Kuzma's name clearly has come up. The Indianapolis Star on Wednesday offered up that he's been offered to the Wolves. He doesn't do a whole lot for me. I don't sense he does a whole lot for the Wolves. Like, if you're giving up the trade chip of Ricky Rubio, is really your end game to land Kyle Kuzma?
No.
I have a hard time believing that.
No, I'm trying to think of, like, so you have it ironclad that the Lakers reached out on Rubio, and I'm trying to think, well, what would that be? Is that a Rubio for Kuzma swap? There's got to be other ways to use that Rubio trade chip. Real quick, Kevin O'Connor. I'm going to say friend of the show. Kevin O'Connor, friend of the show. He came out.
Yeah, he's a good dude. One time. Yeah, real good dude.
KOC, we go back.
And, Kevin O. Timberwolves. And he said on his Mismatch podcast, part of the Ringer NBA show, that the Sixers asked the Spurs for 4 future first-round picks, 3 pick swaps, and a young player for Ben Simmons. And there's other reports that Daryl Morey, GM of the Sixers, wants a James Harden-like return. And James Harden, the Rockets got 4 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps. I don't think they had to deal a young player, but I don't know, man. I think Ben Simmons is a lot better than sort of the damaged goods perception of him right now, but that's the type of value that he might have commanded a year ago when he was still viewed as this on-the-rise young player. Are you hearing anything at all on the Ben Simmons front as it relates to the Timberwolves, Doogie?
Well, I mean, I continue to hear, Phil, that the Wolves are an incredible long shot. That sure, the Wolves would love to acquire Ben Simmons, but there isn't a realistic path. Certainly in Minnesota dealing one-on-one with Philadelphia. So then it gets complicated, involving a third team, potentially a fourth team. You know, we've brought up the idea of the Toronto Raptors. Well, guess what? The Raptors have interest in Ben Simmons. Is there a pathway for Toronto in a sign and trade to send Lowry, some other pieces, to Philly, and the Raptors end up with Ben Simmons? So there's no reason for the Raptors to help out the Wolves in obtaining Ben Simmons. But Gerson's going to continue to try. I mean, he's diligent. You know, I mean, he's going to be aggressive, but I don't see the realistic path. I'll also say this much, Phil. I'm positive that Daryl Morey at some point is going to back off. If Kevin's report is accurate, Kevin is rock solid. I love the guy, you know, so I will trust Kevin on that. I think Daryl eventually comes down in asking price. You start incredibly high. It's a negotiation. He'll come off that. I also can't help but wonder if at some point, it won't be tonight, but if at some point, because I've been saying, Judd, I think I said with you a few weeks ago that I thought, you know, right around the draft here, like tonight, I could absolutely see a Ben Simmons trade, but it looks like this thing is now going to be pushed beyond tonight. I wonder if at some point Philadelphia and Portland come together where Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, Matthias Thybulle, a couple picks end up in Portland, and Damian Lillard ends up in Philadelphia. I can't help but wonder if that's the eventual end game here. Maybe that's 4 months from now.
Speculation.
Maybe it's in January. Maybe it's at the trade deadline. But I can't help but wonder if Philadelphia and Portland end up connecting on a trade.
Whew, that'd be juicy. All
and
right,
if it's not Lillard, then maybe it's McCollum. I happen to think Philadelphia and Portland match up pretty darn well in a blockbuster.
All right. Baseball trade deadline, 3 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. A lot of trades are going down right now. A lot of needs are being filled by teams. And meanwhile, Derek Falvey sits back and surveys the scene and hopefully makes some trades. Where do we stand? And I'm going to assume, unless you tell me otherwise, Dukes, that Byron Buxton's not being moved. So I'm not going to ask about that, because if that's going to happen, and that's still an if, I think it's going to be the wintertime. So most importantly, where do we stand with the Jose Barrios talks? Because it does sound like he's definitely now slotted in behind Scherzer as far as, if there's an available pitcher list, it's probably Scherzer 1, Barrios 2, and then just as far as the rest of the moves that might come down by 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'll get to Barrios in a second, but even in the last 10 minutes, as we've been talking, there's another trade. It's an interesting one, not a blockbuster, but it's an interesting one with the Indians and the White Sox combining with Cesar Hernandez, the infielder, ending up with the White Sox. The White Sox needing some second base help. So anytime two teams, same division, end up connecting, to me, it's pretty interesting.
Oh, real quick, just to add to this, John Heyman just reported right now, Dodgers and Padres both in on Scherzer and Barrios. So that's now we have another baseball insider linking Dodgers and Padres to Barrios. So continue.
Well, I think those two teams have been out there for a while. I mean, it's Dodgers, Padres, Mets to some extent, Phillies, Blue Jays. I've been telling you the Red Sox. Now, do I think the Red Sox are trading for Jose Barrios by tomorrow at 3 o'clock? No. But I can tell you the Red Sox have fans in their front office of Jose Barrios. So they at least have some level of interest. Heck, I don't think you can ever dismiss the Yankees from any transaction, even though they're up against it luxury tax-wise. The Giants are fascinating. What are they going to do? But all the teams I mentioned, 100% have talked to the Twins. We have a report from John Morrissey this morning linking the Seattle Mariners to Jose Barrios. Now, if I had to bet, do I think Barrios is going to Seattle? Probably not. I will tell you this much, because, Judd, I told you on Tuesday when you and I did our thing that I have a bet with somebody close to Jose, that the bet is if Jose doesn't get traded, beers on this guy. If Jose gets traded, beers on me next time he's in town. I'll also add this, though. I'm led to believe that Jose is prepping himself and has been prepping himself, that he's going somewhere.
Yeah.
That Jose is going to get moved, that the Twins realize now is the time to maximize any sort of return on Jose, even with aspirations to compete in 2022. Maybe you create some salary flexibility. I haven't taken a long look at potential free agents, but maybe the Twins feel like there's a good free agent or two that they can target. Maybe there's a different starting pitcher that they feel like they can target in a trade in the winter. But I'm just telling you, bottom line, I am strongly led to believe that Jose Barrios has been prepping himself, that he is going somewhere by 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, this is all a supply and demand game, and I think you got to be careful not to overplay your hand. I mean, there is a deadline, and so there's going to be teams still looking for pitching up until the deadline. It's not like a Bill Smith, Johan situation where those teams just got sick of waiting around during an off season with no deadline. But when you've got the Dodgers, let's just say it's Dodgers, Padres, and maybe some combination of Phillies, Mets, Mariners on sort of the outside of the peripheral. I honestly don't think you should, if you can get someone's top prospect or a top 3 organizational prospect for Jose Barrios, I think you pull the trigger. I don't think you should get too cute with the negotiation here, especially if you sense that he wants to hit free agent. If he hits free agency, there's no way you're signing him. So he's left you no choice. So don't get cute in the next 24 hours, I guess, is what I'm saying, Dukes.
And he has a strong desire, his camp has a strong desire to get to unrestricted free agency. That even though there's a lot of good pitchers that will be free agents winter of 2022, Jose Barrios, maybe it's Aaron Nola as well, but Barrios is about the youngest guy. So even though there's a bunch of talented guys, they're all in their 30s. Barrios, 27 years old, will just have turned, 28? Scooby.
Scooby does not like this trade.
Scooby has thoughts on Jose Barrios, dude. He wants two prospects.
Yeah,
he wants
a
two pitching
big Barrios fan.
His
right?
name is now.
It's
actually now Scoopy. Scoopy.
Absolutely.
Scoopy's got some scoops.
Yeah. So anyway, I think Jose's going somewhere. I've actually changed my tune on that, so I think I'm going to lose this bet. That's fine. It's an excuse to catch up with somebody in the industry that I haven't seen in a while. So I think I'm going to end up ultimately owing this individual some beers, but. I'm just telling you, like, I even wonder, does it even make sense for Barrios to hop on the airplane later today for St. Louis, right? With this off day, they'll fly to St. Louis later today. Why even have him hop on the airplane if something is close? Maybe keep him back here in the Twin Cities. So I'll monitor that later today. And if he's on the plane, that's fine. It's not like St. Louis is far, and he can get to the airport in St. Louis and fly to his new destination. I would not dismiss the Blue Jays. I'm just telling you, the Blue Jays really do like Barrios. But yeah, Phil, if I had to bet, I have a feeling the Dodgers and Padres having interest, those two rivals pitted against each other, that I wonder if one of those two caves enough and just makes the Twins that offer that they can't refuse.
And if one gets Scherzer, you have to think that would trigger a secondary reaction for the team that doesn't get Max to try and get Barrios. The interesting thing is, the Dodgers now, because of injuries and Trevor Bauer's off the field predicament, need pitching. So both those teams are in a position where I could see them making legitimate, really good offers. I don't think the Giants are weird because they're good, but I don't know that they're going to involve themselves yet. But I think the Padres, Dodgers, and the Scherzer wild card here is, I've read some reports that he does not want to go and pitch for the Mets or Yankees. So that would open up a whole world.
He wants to go west.
Yeah. So that would open up the possibility that Barrios really is option A and B for I don't think the Yankees are going to trade for him, but I do think that the Mets might.
Well, the Mets are going to have to go up then on what they've been so far talking with the Twins about. It's not a match right this second. So the Mets are going to have to budge a little bit. I don't think the Twins are going to budge and say, yeah, New York, what you're offering, we'll take that. San Diego's going to do something, right? Like, that front office is uber aggressive, more aggressive than any other front office in the game. So San Diego's going to do something. The question is it Scherzer? Is it Barrios? Heck, is it Pineda? They have scouted Michael Pineda, but I do think San Diego is going to do something. So then how do the Dodgers react? Clayton Kershaw currently hurt, not a long-term injury, but he's hurt. Dustin May is out for the year. By the way, I would be interested in a one-on-one. I would trade Barrios for Dustin May. If the medicals came back, he's coming off Tommy John. But if you could do a 1-for-1 Barrios for Dustin May,
yes,
that would be a trade that would be incredibly appealing to me if I were Levine and Falvey.
I agree. Dukes, let's go rapid fire scoops here. I thought Brian O'Neill would have a contract extension by the beginning of camp, but it appears he doesn't. So what do you know on Brian O'Neill? What are some other scoops in the bag to wrap here?
Well, certainly talk's ongoing. I mean, I still think it's when, not if. I just can't tell you the exact date. Yeah, oftentimes the Vikings going back under this regime, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, they have gotten deals done on the eve of training camp or the first day of training camp, have announced them. And I recall, being down in Mankato, them announcing some extension. So they've done it before. It's going to happen. I'm positive it's going to happen. There's been enough good chatter that I think it happens. It's a matter of when does it happen. Braden Smith just got paid by the Colts. Ramczyk got paid by the Saints. Moton got paid by the Panthers. There's enough smart people that say, if you look at the Braden Smith money, and Judd, you might have the exact money in front of you, that Brian O'Neill's not going to quite approach that money. He'll slot in below Braden Smith, but now we have kind of maybe a better baseline on what the Vikings are willing to pay and what O'Neill will accept in terms of an extension.
Yeah, Dukes, it's 4 years at least $17 million per season. It's a $70 million contract in new money. So he got paid pretty well. But I mean, right tackles, the market's changed now. It used to be, we'll pay the right tackle, but the left tackle is going to basically clean up. Left tackle still incredibly valuable, but I think right tackle now is at least caught up a little bit.
Yeah, and so I think we're looking at like somewhere in the $14 to $16 million a year range, maybe a meet in the middle at 15, 15.2, 15.4, 15.6. But I'm just telling you, like, I haven't been told anything that leads me to believe an extension won't happen. So, heck, do they announce it the weekend of the opener? Do they announce it on, Friday, September 10th or Saturday, September 11th, heading into that September 12th opener? I can't tell you the exact date, but I continue to feel confident that the Vikings will extend Brian O'Neill.
Reckless speculation.
Darren Doogie Wolfson from 5 Eyewitness News. Inside information about your favorite Minnesota sports teams. Good stuff, Doogs.
Absolutely. Take it easy, boys. Judd, I'm happy that my guy Suter got a 4-year deal. He's going to end up making more money in the long run. He had options, right? So you can badmouth him all you want, uncoachable. I get all that, but he had multiple teams that really, really wanted him. So I'm happy he's off to Dallas. It's unfortunate that he's got to uproot the family, but that's a pretty good 4-year deal for Suter. And unfortunate that the Wild waited so long on Nick Foligno, thinking they were going to land Foligno. They thought, heck, at one point I was told they thought it was just about a done deal, and then Foligno gets 2 years from the Boston Bruins. So, Hey, you win some, you lose more in free agency, but the Wild clearly lost Nick Foligno yesterday.
Yeah. All right, Doogie.
Awesome, Doogie.
Say bye to Scoopy for us.
Bye,
Scooby.
Yeah, bye, Scoopy. Who's a good Scoopy?
Who's a good Scoopy? Who's got the scoops?
All right,
Okay,
that's-
see you, boys.
All right, that's Doogie from the Scoop Podcast and
Reckless speculation.
his co-host. We'll get to Wild discussion too here on the show today, but the Dustin May idea in a Jose Barrios trade seems to make a lot of sense. He made 5 starts this year. It's Tommy John for him, right?
Yep.
So
Yes,
he
I
went
believe
Tommy
so.
John.
Yep.
So he'll be back maybe by like April, May of next year. But he was one of the best young pitchers in baseball in 2020, was part of the Dodgers postseason mix, and he's only 23, 24 years old, former 3rd-round pick. And, I could see the Dodgers saying, all right, well, like, we'll just go find another Dustin May, or we can throw $30 million a year at a pitcher in free agency. Like, he doesn't help us at all this year because he's under the knife. So you could probably buy low, so to speak, on one of the bright young pitching stars in all of baseball. So I might put him number 1 on my realistic options list for what you could get for Jose Barrios. I don't know what you guys think.
I like it. Yeah, if you can get that trade, and because he's out, maybe a lower level type prospect who's not just a complete washout, I'd probably make that deal. As Duke said, the one key thing is the medicals have to be clear. But you know what? It's Tommy John. Like I always talk about how necks scare me and neck surgeries, because you don't know. Tommy John, I think you pretty much know, right?
Mhm.
Like it's not a, oh my God, he might never come back now. Everybody basically has it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you're the Twins now, I guess my one question back to you though is, do you think, as solid as that idea seems, do you think this current Twins administration makes that trade, or to use your term, Phil, do they get cute? And do they try and make a deal where they're getting prospects, top prospects, because they think that that's what they can cultivate? I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm saying, do you think that they would think that way?
I don't know. Here's one more thing to add real quick. John Heyman, another tweet. He says, Scherzer versus Barrios is an interesting choice. Scherzer is an all-time great, but he's a free agent at the end of the year. He's almost certainly going to get traded. Barrios is a number 1 for most teams, but not the Dodgers or the Padres. He does have a year of team control left after this year, and he might be traded. So it's kind of being framed by the national insiders as these are the 2 guys on the market. Obviously, Scherzer is better, but Barrios could slot in as like a number 2, 3 starter in a playoff rotation for a World Series contender.
Absolutely.
I just feel like this would be a huge missed opportunity to max his value if there's no path to an extension. If you've deemed that he's going to hit free agency in a year and a half, trade him. Don't get cute. Trade him in the next 24 hours.
So look at the difference in the past week between the comments that we read from Barrios in the Star Tribune, and then I think Buxton talked to a bunch of reporters on the field after he did some rehab work a couple days ago. And while I don't buy, I think Buxton's putting a happy face on his comments. I don't know how much he truly loves the Twins. I think he likes his teammates a lot, but I don't know how much he loves the organization. Buxton's comments were all very much, I was drafted here, I want to stay. Like, he said all of the right things. And that's at least a starting point. Go back to what Barrios told the Star Tribune a couple weeks ago. He basically said, if they can sign me, they can, but I'm really looking forward to this, which, by the way, is right. This does not make him a bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if that's what you're saying now, a year plus out from being able to hit the open market, you're going to hit the open market.
Yep.
Like with Buxton, I could see a path where it's all forgiven, and yes, they have to pay him. I think Barrios is intent on becoming a free agent.
Actually, what Barrios is doing is actually helpful for the Twins.
Yes.
What Buxton's doing might not be, because Buxton's doing the I really want to be here.
Yep.
We'll see if it works. It's like, and the Twins are lowballing him relative to what he can get on the market, but the Twins are like, okay, we'll go from 70 to 80 million. He's like, I really want to be here, but it's like, okay, well, what is the number where you want to be here for what number, right?
Yeah.
And what's realistic? Barrios is saying, I don't really know if I want to be here, and I'm gonna go flirt with some other potential teams here in about a year and a half. So prepare however you guys need to prepare. If you need to trade me, go ahead. It's actually good that he's telling the Twins this.
Barrios' camp, too, is very smart because he is probably going to get paid huge once. And I think he's doing exactly what he's seen the rest of the corporate world in baseball do. It's a business. Like, you're not a Minnesota Twin. You're a Major League Baseball pitcher who has value, and go out and get paid. And if the Twins are going to pay you, that's great. But, I mean, in his mind, Twins, Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Padres, who cares?
Yeah.
Here's my question, though. So Barrios is the great guy to talk about. Like, he's the big fish in the pond who could be traded by 3 p.m. tomorrow. What's going on with the rest of these guys that they need to move? Like, guys are being moved right now, and we're recording this at 10:35 Central Time.
Yeah, just trade
Thursday.
Pineda.
But I mean, what are they doing? Like, I pick up the sports page today, old school sports page. I go down to the store and buy my sports page.
It's good. It's good.
And I'm reading through, this list of transactions of guys, and it's just normal stuff, right? Bad teams trading decent players for returns that are okay, not great. And meanwhile, at Target Field, you're like holding Andrelton Simmons hostage. Oh, we can't trade him yet.
I mean, are there teams that need Andrelton Simmons though? Like, I feel like he'd be just a backup infielder for most contending teams.
Right,
so.
but I mean, Pineda, I take your pick of the name. They just have a bunch of guys that they need to trade.
I don't think anyone. You'd have to pay a team to take J Happ at this point.
Oh, right, but Pineda, Simmons can play defense. Okay, so like someone will take him. And you're not going to get much. Just move him today, though. Move him yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just solely focused on getting a top prospect for Barrios. But it is a little bit weird that there haven't been more transactions than just Nelson Cruz.
I'll volunteer my services. Go down there today, and I will orchestrate the trades of the slappies.
I'm sure that listen. You might want to check your voicemail, Judd. I'm sure they've been trying to get a hold of you here during this Reckless Speculation Thursday, which, by the way, is presented by our friends at Federated. There's nothing reckless about Federated Mutual Insurance Company. They are very buttoned up. They will help your business maximize its success, minimize risk and damage. That's what they've been doing for over 100 years. They've also been, since 2005, been very heavy into helping raise money for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Over $41 million raised through the Federated Challenge, thanks in part to partners like Sit Investment Associates, the Timberwolves and the Lynx, Holborn Corporation. Find out more about the great mentoring work that Big Brothers Big Sisters does at bigbrothersbigsisters.org.